people's environment dictates what they know, and their prior knowledge dictates what they know now.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? How are you feeling?
Functioning.
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 Examples of functioning. Navigational sensors aren't functioning. Glad to see you still fully functioning.
This is Tom, this is Angie.
Hi, Tom.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I don't think I had COVID, but I've been sick for like 2 weeks. So.
Oh.
Hey, where's your mic right now?
It's in my hand.
Oh, nice. There it is. So you were sick for 2 weeks?
I'm still sick now. Like, I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm not getting better. So.
Have you been tested?
No, I should have tested I should have tested last week, but I just didn't think I didn't think about anything. I was asleep for like 3 days, and then
That's COVID.
That sounds like COVID, Tom.
2 weeks sick. That's COVID.
But
Yeah.
I didn't have I've had COVID before, and it just didn't feel like because there was. Have you ever done 2CI?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so when you did 2CI to do
2CI is a psychedelic.
Mm.
I think it's called
like a research chemical.
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I was on 2CI, I coughed a bunch. I got really sick, and it was a similar feeling in my lungs as when I got COVID. So this time I didn't have that feeling, so I just figured it wasn't COVID.
Do you think that's because COVID is a research?
I'm not saying it is or it isn't.
It was like made in a lab. Is that what you're trying to
maybe
get at?
I would go in front of whatever Fauci's first name is, and I would say, dude, you made a research chemical and you gave it to all of us and I know that because I've done a lot of 2CI. So back like 10 years ago in Atlanta, when you tried to get acid, you would always get 2CI.
Yeah, or they would they would sell you like mushroom chocolates, but they'd put like portobellos in there, and then they would put 2CI in the chocolate. And then instead of tripping for 6 hours, you're tripping for 12 hours. So it really ruined a lot of plans, and it's a lot more intense.
Yeah, there was a hurricane warning, and I was on a bunch of mushroom chocolates, and then just regular mushrooms too, and it was a horrifying experience. I think that might have been like internally when I quit stand-up comedy. I was there for a comedy festival, and I was so scared, and I had so many bad sets because I was high on whatever I was on, and I think I just said, no more of this. I can't do this. I'm gonna go back to school and get a job.
No more 2CI. So 2CI sent you back to school?
Well, when was that? That was like 2017. So that would have been around the time that I lost my luster for stand up.
That's also the year I moved away from Atlanta, so that could be.
Oh, that could be something.
That could be linked.
Yeah. You I remember the last day you were in Atlanta, and you left me with a large bill at whatever bar we were at.
What?
Do you remember this?
No.
We got drunk at Limerick, and then we found our way to Elmire, and then
That sounds right.
And then I guess that's when you blacked out because you left, and the bill was for like $100. And I didn't see you again until I was in New York and you came to visit.
So I guess I owe you.
You owe him $100.
I owe him $100.
Well, you might owe me like 50. I don't know, but either way. Yeah.
I think I also made a bet with you about
carton of cigarettes.
Yeah.
We have photographic proof of this. Thank you, Zachary Wright.
So I owe you $100 on a carton of cigarettes. That's like, man, I should have gotten it back then. That's like $150 now. It used to be $120.
Well, we can find something that is worth equivalent because I don't smoke or drink anymore. So.
Well, I'm sitting here with someone I don't owe any money to or cigarettes. Angie Bender, who is Jason's, our last guest's wife and interior designer, and the one who I'm back in the room with all the wicker. Just so you know, I love wicker. which I'd like to tell you.
Rattan, bamboo. I like it all too.
Oh, that's like deep wicker knowledge. I didn't even know
You
that.
know, there's some wovens over there.
Some wovens. I like wovens.
I like natural grassy materials.
Yeah, that's where we're at. We're in a grassy apartment.
Jody, did you have a joke about like a wicker bike or something?
Yeah, I used to say that I look like I make bikes out of wicker. I know what I look like. I look like I make my own soaps and
In a basket weaver.
Yeah, and I make bikes out of wicker. Yeah.
Sorry, this dog.
Now I wanted to add on to it that I know that I look like I'm one dashiki away from being problematic.
I think you added that. You said that at least in Atlanta, I saw.
Oh, well, now it's recorded.
And you were right.
Yeah. I'm still, I look like I have a hacky sack in my pocket and I'm ready to kick it around at any point, which I would, but it's like hard to find hacky sacks these days. We're in a hacky sack deficient society these days.
1,000 Villages probably has them up in Evanston.
Really? I know.
It's a fair trade, kind of earthy, a lot of African fair trade in different countries.
Okay.
Called 10,000 Villages.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I bet you they have a hacky
Yeah, I'm going to
sack.
pick up a hacky sack for sure. Bring that back. So Angie, let's get to it. Tell us about yourself. Tell us your story, what you do, the works.
Well, I am an interior designer now, with what I do now. I'm originally from upstate New York. I grew up in Rochester, small family, only child. Found my way here to Chicago through lots of job transfers. Was in Houston for like 10 years, kind of floundering. That was my floundering years, I call them, I guess. I left New York kind of to start a new life in Houston. My mom was moving. I had dropped out of college. I was literally just, making $7 an hour. I was just going nowhere, and I was 21. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, let's leave and go down to Houston with my mom. And so we went down there for about 10 years. And then I got transferred up here to Chicago. I was in commercial real estate management for about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
High rises, stuff like that. Are we going to have to
No,
address that?
Dogs are allowed.
Okay.
This is the same.
Jason, let me text.
This is the same Chihuahua from last time.
Oh, Lord. So yeah,
we're keeping this in, Tom.
I found my way to Chicago about 22 years ago. Exactly. So I've been in Chicago 22 years through a job transfer, but I'm no longer in commercial real estate management. I was in corporate America for about 20 years. And now I do something fun. Partly because I'm sober. I hate to say it. I don't think I would have this particular career path if I didn't quit drinking.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know. It is kind of interesting because I was in corporate America. You think, well, I was functioning back then, you know?
Yeah, that's cool.
High functioning in corporate America.
That's the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
We should have a sound for whenever someone says that.
Right.
Yeah, that's the name. That's
name.
why we're here.
Well, and I was thinking about that too, because when the reason I quit drinking is because I'm low functioning. I'm like the worst functioning alcoholic there is. I don't know. I can't get out of bed. I can't go to work. I can't do anything if I'm not sober.
Yeah.
So I lost some jobs along the way.
Yeah, as we all do. Yeah.
Yeah. That didn't happen though until later when I got sober. I kept keeping my jobs. I don't know if they were companies that were almost enabling me. I'm really good. I'm a good employee. I'm smart. I'm a fast learner. I'm a leader. But I have to show up.
Yeah, and that's hard when you're drunk or like too hungover.
Yeah.
It's that kind of like we talk about this a lot on the podcast, like that. There's this like potential, right, that gets a little like hindered down when you're actively drinking, right, Light Dog?
Yeah.
Were you always low functioning?
It's a funny question because I don't even know what high functioning is. Like I feel like my father has been a high functioning alcoholic. That's why he continues to drink, because he can he can get up at the crack of dawn and go to work. And there are people that do that. They live their lives in high functioning alcoholism.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever been that way. I think I hate to say this, and I know this sounds so weird, but I think I was just getting away with shit because I was good at what I did. I was fun to be around. I did my job. But did I show up? Did I have a lot of sick days? Oh, yeah. Like they allowed for like 5 in corporate America, you have like 7 sick days a year or something like that. And then you have like 3 weeks of vacation. And so there's like time you can play with almost and get away with it.
Yeah.
And they believe you when you're sick because you're like, oh, I'm so sick.
What was your go-to? Mine was my stomach hurts, because then no one wants to know. Like no one wants, they're like, which way is it going? They don't want to get into it. They don't want the details.
They don't want to hear the D word.
Yeah. So I'd be like, oh, I can't come in. I got some sort of stomach thing going on, man. I'm going all over. I'm coming out both ends.
Yep.
That's
all they need.
And
They're
then
like,
eventually my job started catching on to like, oh, your stomach thing is that you got too drunk last night, and so you're throwing up all over the place. And I was like, yeah, that's it.
Well, you cannot get drunk where you work if you're in like a service industry job. Like drinking if I got drunk at Limerick and I didn't want to go to work the next day.
Oh yeah, then they knew.
There's no way. So you just have to.
Yeah.
So you just have to get up and go, and you just have to. Yeah. And I somehow, because it was a day job, I was living 2 lives. I was clearly living 2 separate lives for about 8 years of my life. I would go to corporate America and put on a suit, and then I would get out and I would strip all those clothes off and I would put glitter on my face and go to a rave. And no one would know that part about me, that I wasn't sleeping for 2 days on end, or I would just somehow get through it all because I just had an office job.
Yeah.
Like I could just hide in the office. Like I'm really busy, or, I couldn't hide anymore. Like it was too obvious. And I was partying with the people I worked with. Because we were all really young. Mm-hmm. We were just really young. So we'd all go out. And so it was almost like allowed for a very long period of time. If someone didn't come to work, we knew they were hungover because we put them there.
Yeah.
We went out last night as a corporate company. We had dinner and had tons of wine, So then it was almost excused. It was kind of strange. So I think there's a lot of enabling in my life. A lot of enabling. But I also feel like I'm just I have that personality where people just let me get away with shit. And I hate to say it like that. I don't know what it was where people would just let me get away with shit. Like they would know, and yet they wouldn't fire me. I feel like that's enabling.
Yeah. I mean, it's a culture.
It's a culture. And if you're young and you're going out in the culture, then it's okay. Because it's still like that in corporate America when you're in your 20s. You're working 60 hours a week. Those are your best friends.
Yeah.
And you're all single and you're like ready to go out and you worked so hard. You deserve a happy hour.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of that rewarding behavior, and that just went on for years.
And as long as you meet your deadlines, as long as you're like not puking in front of the client, then
if you are hitting everything and you're excelling, then there's no one's going to say a thing.
It sounds like Wolf of Wall Street, honestly.
It is. It was like that. If you were in corporate America in the 90s and the early 2000s, it really was like that. The money that was spent on entertainment and Christmas parties and happy hours. They did it because we worked so hard and we made so much money. And so I kind of came into Chicago. I actually went and got sober in 2000. And I said that my gift, because you get gifts when you get sober, I call them those gifts, that if you stay sober, the world is sometimes kind to you. You make good decisions, it pays you back.
Okay.
I call them gifts in my world.
Like, so the world is giving you a gift for
If
being sober?
Yeah, well, in a sense, like if I stay sober, I'm 10 times better than when I'm not sober,
Mhm.
you know? So if I work really hard at being sober and I get better at my job, they're going to promote me.
Mhm.
If I stay here, they probably won't promote me. But if I get, what I found out was I got sober for the first time in like ever since I was 13. And I got a promotion and I got moved to Chicago. Like,
How soon? How soon after you got sober?
6 months.
Wow. Yeah, it
Wow.
is like,
Sometimes you get speedy gifts when you make good decisions.
Yeah.
I call it the universe, whatever you want to call it. I find that I did well. I got sober and I excelled, and then they gave me this opportunity, so you should go. And the minute before I left, someone said, you're not really an alcoholic. One person said that to me in a meeting. That's why we talked about meetings, but someone said that to me and I was like, oh, I'm not an alcoholic.
someone in an AA meeting said that to you? I thought they thought that's wild.
What?
Yeah.
Well, it was because we were in a lot of
A
narcotics.
business meeting. What?
I know. I hate to, like, it was something that was said to me right before I left Houston. And I was really into crystal meth. I had a lot of recreational hallucinogenics. I had a really big cocaine problem, but that was all based on alcohol. Like all of those speed drugs that came in after that, or the X, or whatever it was I took after I started drinking, were the bad guys. You know, I got to get away from the white powder. You know, so I went into rehab. Did some outpatient, went into the program, and then went and shared a lot of myself for 6 months, stayed sober. And someone's like, I don't think you're an alcoholic. They came up to me after a meeting, after I shared. And I was like, that's all. It's interesting if one sentence can just change your whole trajectory. And so I came here and just started drinking again because I was with my coworkers. Like, I'm not an alcoholic.
Oh my God.
It was kind of interesting. I just got to get rid of the white stuff. So I got rid of the white stuff, kept drinking. And you don't realize all that my gateway is alcohol.
Yeah.
There's no other gateway for me. It's alcohol. And there is...
Well, for one thing, cocaine without alcohol is like...
It's
Yeah,
wretched.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's hard to put like,
It's
a lot
wretched.
of speed in you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it
Yeah,
before, and
that's
I was like, who
everything.
does this?
It's like just a spoonful of jelly
It's awful.
instead of PB&J. You just
Right.
like, yeah,
Right.
it's too much.
Right. Too much. Right. So I think that's what it was. It's like, oh, I can get rid of all the drug problems. That's what I have. I have a drug problem.
Yeah.
And,
Sounds like they were like anti-AA because they wanted you to be an NA. It's just...
yeah, like everybody had a crystal meth addiction back in the day in the 90s, especially in, I was kind of hanging out in the gay community more than the straight community, just because I had just gotten divorced. And I kind of just wanted to be happy.
Yeah.
And I found that the gay community made me very happy in all sorts of ways. You know, I didn't get hit on. I just found a little safe space. But it was such a party scene. Like, it was a huge party scene. Huge. So, you know, we all had our own there was GHB, there was X. X was huge. And then there was, you know, crystal and Coke and LSD. And those were all the ones we used, and mescaline. And it kind of,
Wow.
and if you mix, yeah, trust me. Yeah, mixing is fun with alcohol sometimes. So like, you're like, oh, you're not supposed to drink on that. Well, all I do is drink. So I would mix alcohol with all of those drugs, and a lot of them just can't be mixed with alcohol. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them are better.
Yeah.
Some of them are worse.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine LSD and booze. That would be wild.
It actually counteracts it. You usually don't. You don't. It doesn't work.
Oh.
That's what happens. Alcohol kind of puts it out. Most of the time.
That's a waste of LSD.
It's a waste of LSD. I was told that many, many, many times in my life. I actually, my ex was a dealer. So before I left Houston, I took the dealer with me here.
That's smart.
Yeah, well, he didn't have he wasn't dealing anymore. But the same guy came up here with me, and, so I was never going to get sober then with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gave up and just kept going. I was like, and I was highly successful here. Like my promotion was a winner. I had a team of 15 people. I was working until 8:00 at night. I was moving and grooving for a while.
How did you not run out of energy?
I made 6 figures. I had stock options. I ate a lot of cheeseburgers and soda to get myself to
pull it together.
Yeah. Like I called it my McDonald's breakfast, like a cheeseburger, soda, grease, just a whole bunch of grease. You inhale it, and then you can kind of make it through the next couple hours until lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like you have your things that work or don't work. But then I lost that job.
Because of your drinking?
No.
Oh, just for outside of drinking?
Believe it or not, the company was sold.
Oh, wow.
And that's when I think that's basically when it all came crashing down for me. That was the beginning of the end.
What was it? Was it because you had you were kind of open now, or you didn't have the cushion of this job?
Yeah, I did. Well, I think I didn't realize that grief takes a lot of different forms. And when you lose something that you love, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be a parent, a dog, a friend, a job. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize the job would be enrolled in that. And that job that basically, I've always, what's the word? I guess I'm a person that my professional life has always ruled my whole life. My job has made me.
Yeah.
I didn't have a husband. My mom taught me to be an independent woman, and I was going to be a career woman, and that's what kind of defined me.
Yeah. I
had a I was powerful, high-paying job. No one knew what I did for a living, that kind of stuff. The company was sold in 2006, and I, didn't realize how that would affect me. That's all. I got a huge severance. Huge. $100,000.
Whoa.
I
don't think they do that anymore.
I don't have that money now. Let's just put it that way. They don't do that anymore. Well, it was for every year you worked, you got $20,000 for every year of service.
Whoa.
And I was there 8.5 years.
What?
Yeah, these packages were this is what I'm telling you. Before the recession, companies were spending so much money on their employees. We had perks beyond. We had the best health insurance. We had gym memberships. We had stock options. We had dinners. We had trips. These are the things that they gave out. That's why we're in this situation. That's how I feel. They just, they did put a lot of money into human capital, I guess you could say, making us happy.
Yeah. Now they don't care at all.
Now they don't care at all.
No, just completely.
It's like now they don't care at all. And so when that was taken away from me, I was literally the last person to lock the door. So there was 3,000 employees, and I walked out with the last 10. That's how much they thought of me. Like I was extended and extended and extended until I couldn't be extended anymore. It was done. We were sold. So when I closed the door on that job, I literally and figuratively did it, and I didn't realize what was about to change for me. That's all. My job was defined me, and I was like, what am I going to do now? I found that I didn't have what they were calling me at that job was not equating out to the marketplace. I didn't have a degree. I was with them for 9 years and I never got my degree. I never finished my bachelor's degree. So I'm now thrown into the world I was making 6 figures. I have no degree and I can't find a job in the middle of a recession. And so things just turned dark. I got a job. I took a pay cut of about $50,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge lifestyle change.
Yep. And I went to work for a small real estate company, and I was going to be a property manager. So it was like, I'm still doing what I'm doing. But I went to a company that I was basically being verbally abused on a daily basis for 3 years. I didn't realize what you have and what you have now. Like, you had HR and you had human resources. Mm-hmm. People were always taking care of you. People couldn't speak inappropriately at the workplace. You didn't talk about politics. You didn't swear. There was HR who would never let that happen. But I went to work for a very small, privately owned company, and I was berated. I was, it was the worst job ever. And so what did I turn to? I drank. I was like, now I was drinking not for fun. I was like, for many years, it was always about recreation. Fun, 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 fun. You only drank when you were fun. And then all of a sudden it turned into this like dark place. Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional, but I was using it to cope every single day. I was drinking blackout drunk every single day, 4 days a week, and trying to keep a job. So it was hard, I knew I was an alcoholic, I think, my whole life. Mm-hmm. But because it wasn't making my life unmanageable in that huge way, like you're not dead on the street or we always say rock bottom is different for everyone. Yeah. My rock bottom is pretty high in comparison probably, mm-hmm. but it's my personal rock bottom. I left that job finally after the recession lifted a little bit. I left that job in 2010, but I was a full-blown angry alcoholic at that point. I
didn't know the recession ever lifted.
About 2010, I graduated 2011.
I graduated in 2008.
Yeah.
But I had a creative writing degree, so it was recession-proof. I was going to be broke no matter how the economy was going. Right. So I had no idea that it even lifted a little bit in 2010. I was still working at Best Buy, so I was just drunk at Best Buy.
Well, because I was corporate real estate. Yeah. I was specifically real estate.
Which is all that the recession was about, yeah. So
it affected me so much in so many different ways because that's all the recession was about. Mm-hmm. That's kind of why I think that my company sold. They had an inside line.
Oh, they're trying to get out before the crash.
I mean, I'm never going to say that, but to sell off a $1 billion portfolio in 2006.
Did you say kabillion?
I mean, multi-billion-dollar real estate portfolio across the globe, and you sell it to a Canadian company like that over a 6-month period. Yeah,
it's a Martha Stewart
someone thing. Knew something. Maybe, but it's just I was directly affected by that recession in so many ways. My company housed Enron.
Okay. That's
Uh,
fun.
They actually were our biggest tenant in Houston. They dumped out. We had the whole building that dumped out. That was ours. Yeah, so there was a lot of things that were directly affecting my company and job, and and it kept going. I got fired for the first time in my life in 2010, 2011, 2010, 11. 2011 was my first time ever being fired. I was 41 years old. And I was ashamed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Beyond.
it's hard. The first time
it was
is the
because
hardest.
I was a drunk too this time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So the shame, I never felt so. Yeah, it was a really dark time.
So it started leaking into your business world, into your
Now I had no
professional
job.
life.
Like that was the first time I'd never had a job. I was on unemployment. Like, I didn't know what that was all about. So, yeah, it was just newfound territory. And I was really dark, and I just drank more and more and more. Did more cocaine, did more drinking with my husband. We just, I was in a bad place. So why not just get worse? I don't know.
Yeah.
So you met
that makes
Jason throughout all this?
No, Jason I met in 2005. We were, partners in crime together. When we got married in 2006, there was, I just lost my job.
Yeah.
We got married and we bought a house in 2006. All the things you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
But we were very much a couple that was very social. We went out all the time. People drank more when they were around me.
Yeah.
They didn't drink as much as I did.
Same. That used to happen to me too.
Then they wanted to hang out with you, you know.
They want to keep up, and you're just like, are
Yeah,
you sure you can
like-
keep up? Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's how Tom and I became friends. We were just the last ones like awake at the party.
Right. That was me. And Jason and I were really big partners in crime for a long time. But in 2011, when kind of things went south, we'd been married 5 years, and he didn't really know that I was a full-blown alcoholic. I don't think he knew I was a full-blown alcoholic. Like I couldn't just stop drinking. Like when the bar closes, that's not when you go home and go to bed. You try to find cocaine and go to an after-hours bar or someone's house, and that's Tuesday. So he was he was actually starting to rein it in. And I said to him, I don't have an off switch. Like, I know that about myself. I'm a party girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the year I got sober, 2011.
So you're unemployed, and you just put the bottle down.
No, I did not. I lost my job. My grandmother died.
Oh.
Right after I lost a second job.
So you got fired again?
Yeah, I got fired again. That just 3 months later.
The second time is not. I've been fired from every job I've ever had.
Okay.
Yeah, except for like 2.
Okay.
So I'm very well aware of how traumatizing being fired is.
People have been fired all the time.
You get used to it.
Well, I think that's...
I might get fired from this podcast, honestly. In a moment, I'm waiting for Tom to bring me into the... They're like, can we talk to you for a moment? And then they bring you into the room, and then like the room is always like dramatically lit, and then everyone's like...
Close the door.
Yeah.
It's that, close the door.
And then it's like your boss, and then like their like assistant or whatever, or like the second, and then someone you've never met is HR, and you're like, who is this?
It's HR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened a second time.
Sometimes the security guard's there. It's yeah.
And that happened in August of that same year. So I was fired in March. got another job in June, was fired in August from that job. And these are all in real estate. Someone has given me a referral. You know, these are high paying jobs. These are high paying, hard jobs. And so the second time I got, so what happened was I wasn't performing well. I was coming into work late, hungover generally, because I still was in the thick of my depression, which I didn't know I had. I was depressed, like deeply, deeply depressed. And so then my grandma had dementia. They called me and said, your grandma's probably not going to make it more than a few days. And so I went to them and I said, my grandmother's going to pass. I need to go on vacation. They're like, yeah, you're going to be fired.
Wow.
Oh.
They really took advantage of that.
They did. Once I said, I was like, oh, my grandmother's dying, so you're going to fire me. Okay. Thank you so much. And I walked out. I told Jason again, and he was mad again. You know, he knows that I'm always going to beat myself up more than anybody else will. But he was like, you got fired again? And I was like, I did. Something was seriously wrong. Like with the universe, I something was very wrong. I packed up and I went to New York, where my family is. I just said, I'm leaving and I don't know when I'm coming back. I told Jason, I'm going to be gone. We don't know when she's going to die. I'm just going to be with my family and I've got to get out of this place. Like I just left. Took a train to Rochester to be with my family. Saw my grandmother that evening. She passed the next morning.
Wow, so you made it though.
I made it. I don't know if that was a good thing or not. You know, I don't know if that was a good thing or not. To see your grandmother in that state, I will never forget, and as long as I live.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
So what did I do for that 2 weeks? I drank and did a lot of cocaine with my family because they're the people I get that from. But we were in grief. We were together. We were going to drink, and we were going to
You're bonding.
Be sad.
You're having family time together.
Yeah. And my
sharing stories and lines.
It was crazy.
Booze.
It was a crazy time because half of my family had just left for Florida. It was a coincidence. They were all in Florida when my grandma passed. So half of us were up here and half of us were down there. So we had to wait for everybody to come back to have the funeral. So it just stretched it and stretched it. For 2 weeks. We didn't bury my grandmother for 2 weeks. And so that was it. How do I say it? Like that I just said my grandma wouldn't want this. Like something's wrong with you. You've got to fix it. You know what it is.
Was it at the funeral? Like something clicked?
Well, my aunt, my dad, I have an aunt who is a principal at a high school. She's also been a guidance counselor for like 25 years for students. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, what am I going back to? And she's like, you just got your bachelor's degree. Through this whole time, I was getting my bachelor's degree in interior design. I forgot to say that. Through this whole time, I'm going to school at night. And still drunk.
That's insane. Yeah.
Wow.
That's functioning alcoholism.
5 years of me.
Wild energy. Yeah.
Going to work full time, going to school, drinking, party, and so it was just that's what I did for 5 years. And then when I got my degree in 2010, I was like, what am I going to do with this? I'm already in this big job.
Yeah.
And then when I got fired, like when you get the universe, I said the universe was telling me something. You have this bachelor's degree now in interior design, and you're still farting around in real estate because you're too scared. I was just too scared to start over. I had a mortgage. I was just scared. When I talked to my aunt, she's like, you're going to have to utilize that degree. You're going to have to take a risk. You're going to have to go out there and see what you can do with this degree. Doesn't matter what you make for a living. If you're going to do it, you got to jump off and do it. But so I found I saw an ad when I came back at Room and Board Furniture. I answered it. I knew that if I was going to get that job, I had to quit drinking. This is the first day of the rest of your life kind of thing. And October 9th, 2011 is my sobriety date. I called, that was a big day because Jason was going to throw me out, threatening to throw me out.
Yeah, I was getting that tense.
I spent 3 hours on the phone that day, drunk as all get out, with my friend who's in the program in Rochester. And then I applied for this job like a week later and went on interviews, which is kind of funny. And I got the job.
Okay, that's great.
I know. October 31st was my start date. October 9th, October 31st.
So just
Your
a few
gifts
weeks
from the
later.
universe come like that.
Yeah.
They come like that.
Yeah.
Mine didn't have that, but yeah, that's great. I'm not jealous or anything.
No.
I also want to take a moment. Yeah, great. Good for you, Angie.
Yeah, within a month, your life is back on track. Great.
Yeah, all you had to do was just get sober. And
Yeah,
that was it.
right. No, yeah.
Happy to hear that from you.
Yeah, right. If it were only that easy. Yeah, but it was my life is a little trial by fire. I think for me it works best to just rip off that Band-Aid. I have been enabling myself for so long and coddling myself for so long that I've never done anything hard,
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's the most rewarding, obviously. But the gifts, it took a long time to, as we know, just getting sober doesn't solve your problems. It didn't solve anything, but it made me like this new baby, like this new child walking around in this new environment. No one knows who I am. They just know that they didn't ask me about drinking. Like I'm a new person. I'm going to introduce a new person to these people.
Mm-hmm.
They,
Yeah, I always feel like sobriety, like this first like month or first year or something, it's like a second puberty.
It really is.
Because I had like the hardest time. I was just like, how do I talk to people?
How do I relate to them?
Yeah, and it's like, and then there's on top of that, there's like your body is also like expelling all of the toxins, and so there's all these new smells. You got like pimples popping up.
That's so funny.
And so it's like I just remember feeling so awkward all the time, and I'm like, this is just. I feel like I'm 13 in the body of a 33-year-old.
Yes.
And it's just like it was just completely odd until it took me a long time to just like get my footing,
I think what helped me is that I was in completely a different environment with people I didn't even know doing something I'd never done before.
Yeah,
so I couldn't equate. And the funny thing is I had to work weekends. So when you go into retail, you work weekends.
No time to drink.
There's no time to drink.
No time to party, yeah.
I worked and I was like, and so I kind of had set myself up for success in that job, not going back into corporate America Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I was now going to be working nights and weekends. So I don't know if that obviously helped me in a sense that I was able to just kind of pretend, let's say.
Yeah.
But I was finding what I was more having is the new baby is talking to new people and trying to get along with new people in a work environment. And she's outside of this struggling with an alcohol problem, but nobody knows. There was one person who knew, and his boyfriend was my bartender.
Oh no.
Oh.
So they made that connection?
Well, he's like, yeah, I've met you several times, Angie. This is what we got a lot. You know, how many times do you meet the same person?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've met several times. Oh, you know, and it was him. I'd met him several times, but I was obviously not, I was blacked out.
Yeah.
So when we started working together, that was fun. He's like, yep, Rick's my husband. I was like, oh, so you know exactly what Angie's doing right now. And he did. It was a safe space, a little bit of a safe space, because he knew that I was just newly sober.
So he was supportive of everything
He
and all that?
was.
That's
He was
great.
very supportive. Everybody who, like, you know, very supportive. And he's like, I know, you know, you're working really hard. You're doing great. You know, like, I'm now an interior designer. I don't even know what I'm doing. You know, so there was so much going on where I was just learning to be a new person. Like, literally, I was a new person. And you know, you are physiologically a new person like a year later. I couldn't believe those physical changes that were happening to me over that year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I starting to see it. I didn't quit smoking though. So I was still having, like, you know, I think that was important for me, and it may help other people, is like setting yourself up for success for me is the most important.
Yeah.
Because I want to surround myself with people that are going to be non-drinkers, probably. You know, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't stop. You know, if I quit smoking and quit drinking at the same time, like, what was I going to do with that?
Yeah, it's not sustainable. It's
not
gonna break.
sustainable.
It's way too hard. It's too many things.
Too many things.
Yeah, one little thing at a time.
Let me just smoke until I knew both of them had to go, because my health, I'd been a big alcoholic smoker for 29 years. And so I knew my end game was probably throat cancer or something like that. Mm. So I quit 2 years later exactly. And that's when my health actually started to improve more. I mean, the drinking, one thing, the bloating, the hydration, but the smoking on top of that was like, I was just like, I didn't realize how unhealthy I was, how lack of oxygen I had, how bloated I was, how red I was, how fat my face had lost like 5 pounds off of it. And so there were like physical changes that I was like, who are you? You know, so I felt like I was regenerating myself at the same time, as like it was all happening at the same time. It was kind of a successful way. I planned, I put those gears in motion, you know, and it was all based on getting sober.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
just making that first decision.
The one first decision is all we have to make. Because the rest is kind of if we can just keep that part going, we'll figure it out. Like I just said, I'll figure this out.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's not really, I guess it is one decision, but also you're making these decisions to keep that one decision going. Because it's like you're making decisions to surround yourself with people who don't drink.
Right.
And you're trying to like put yourself into something that you're passionate about that isn't enabling. And so these are like, you're like, that's like recovery. That's like you building this life around that one decision so that you can start getting away from the thing that's holding you back, right?
Well, there's obviously, it's hard. You have to get rid of friends, and you have to like do all of the things it's real. It is very real, and it can be very isolating in the beginning. But I think that job, like going into that job every day, was something new. I'm a designer. I'm fancy. Like I'm working with people. I'm doing what I actually went to school for, which was for the first time in my whole life. So I found a lot of passion in it. And I thought, well, I get to do this for a living if I stay sober. I felt like that was my gift. I know that sounds maybe weird, but I enjoyed that job so much that I just got a kick out of it. So
Mhm.
I loved all my other jobs, but I think there was something special about, I'd been going to college for 22 years.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, it didn't take whatever I was doing.
Well, that's why you were drinking. You were in college.
Yeah.
Just living the college life.
I was just corporate. I felt like it's that mundane corporate life. There's a lot of things to be said about that grind
Yeah.
and what it does to people's health and what they do. They eat unhealthy, they drink more, they travel they drink more on traveling, but so it's not exactly the healthiest lifestyle is someone who sits at a desk for 8 hours a day,
There's a lot of talking too, and like, oh, it's Friday, can't wait to go home and have a beer, or like, hey, you guys want to go to the bar? And like, there's a lot of that, which
there's
is
so much. You are rewarded for your hard work. That's we know this culture is rewarding, like you deserve a drink today, and that's what it was. And then we put the job aside and went and just did whatever we wanted on the weekends. You could live a whole different life.
Yeah.
And then just come back on Monday. My job and me were so separate for so long that I was starting to integrate them into like one person, like this dynamic, creative person that was just having a little bit more stimulation. I wasn't used to the creativity, so I was finding out who I was. We all find out who we are during recovery, but like it's.
But you're exploring this like creative side of you, which is
because I never thought I had it.
Yeah.
I never thought I had it because I was just business. But so but with all of that, like I was having a hard time with my emotional intelligence, because you're a new baby.
Yeah.
And you're walking around like a bratty teenager sometimes. And I was not realizing how I was affecting others. And we were a very close-knit kind of, showroom. So I have amazing people that I got from that job that are still in my life today that I finally had to share with them. Okay, here's the deal. Because she was like, what is wrong with you? I was like, oh, I might want to share this. And I took her into a back room and I said, I'm recently sober. I quit drinking about 6 months ago. She's like, oh my gosh. And her sister was in recovery.
So you're like, that's why I'm kind of an asshole right now.
I didn't need to make it as an excuse. I said, I'm kind of floundering and I'm so sorry. Like, I don't know. My ego, we talk about ego and that's part of what keeps us drunk is ego. Like someone's hurting me or someone's out to get me or whatever it is. I had that still. So I was kind of operating with ego, running through the showroom and not really thinking about all the people around me. I'd been self-centered my whole life. And I was still being self-centered. So there was a lot of behavioral things that I had to work on through sobriety. I had to realize that I had clinical depression. Like I was clinical depression. That's probably why I drank in the first place. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So I was having a hard time in the first couple of years of sobriety being able to get out of bed. Real clinical depression. That was new. And so I was worried about losing that job, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? And I would just, so there's a lot of exploration, a lot of doctors. Like, is there something wrong with me physically? Got to check that. Got to check this. And a lot of that, I don't go to AA, but I did the 12 steps. And I find a version of that is what keeps me sober every day, in a way. My own, like, why am I feeling this way? You got to check yourself, like, in every situation. Like, this person is not So why are you upset with this person? You got to like drill in. Why are you upset with them? Well, is it because you feel like they're taking something away from you, or are they just doing their thing and they're not even thinking about you? Like there's no motivation behind what they're doing. You have to check every single situation, every source of conflict, in every relationship, and find out if it's me or did I do something wrong. And so there was just years of me just floundering around that showroom. Like, oh my God, thank you for calling that to my attention. And then I would improve. And so people knew that I was receptive to constructive criticism. Or if I hurt them in some way, they would tell me, and vice versa. So there was like all this communication happening. Like we're not just all hanging on to things and like building resentment. So that's what I had a lot of cool people in my life that I found that were just completely different. Like I left my old life completely and found this new set of coworkers and friends, who were very supportive of my journey. Yeah. Very good company. Like I found a company that was like, when I read their manifesto, if you will, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like I went from being, verbally abused on a daily basis to this company who's going to care for me and wants my wellness and my work-life balance. What? Like I was just in a night-day situation. So it was almost easier to just forget about it.
Especially in that first year, like you're like immediately, you have this community, you have, the job that you've wanted, and you have all these gifts from.
I work in weekends, but I love what I do. I'm having a good time. I'm designing rooms. That's what I went to school for. So I was basically honing my craft while I was there, and learning about myself, that I wasn't emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm. I'm very reactive,
I had a lot of moments in my first couple of years of sobriety where I was like, maybe I'm the asshole. And like I would like sit there and I'd be like, oh, fuck that guy. And, or fuck whatever. And then I'd have to take a step back and be like, oh, wait. I'm the dick in this situation. I get it. Yep. And then you have to find a way to go up to somebody and find whoever you hurt. And
make amends.
Hey, I'm a dick and this is why. Yeah.
Sorry, I, wasn't, that's the thing. It's like I learned how to say, hey, I'm sorry for doing that. And actually being sorry for the actual action. This is kind of where I'm operating from, and I didn't see your point of view. Real apologies were actually happening instead of like lying apologies. Like I felt like there was always lying apologies when you were drunk. Like I don't know how to say that, like, because you're still always lying about something.
Yeah,
when it comes to your work.
Sometimes you would say, like, apologize so that someone leaves you alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm sorry that you are in my face right now. Please go over there, and I promise that I will probably do this again. But you're just like you're not taking it.
You're not really owning it.
Right. I'm sorry that you're mad right now. I can't talk about it because my stomach really hurts. And I gotta go to the bathroom. I just sorry. I mean,
exactly.
It's out both ways. Do you want to keep talking?
Do you want to keep talking about it?
There were so many things, and I think I think what happened too is because my job was so antisocial before, I was a social butterfly and wanted to go out and party. Now this job was all social and I had nothing left. Like I was worn out. My people contact was so fulfilled during the day that I didn't want to go out socially at night. Mm-hmm. So it was like and that's kind of what I do now. It's like my whole job is just social. I'm always with clients. And when I'm done, I don't want to be around one stinking person.
Yeah.
Except my dogs and my husband and my TV. And it's a really, like, I do need to be social. I just, that was the wrong kind of social for a long time. You know, it was the social that involved a lot of drinking. This is now actual interactions where I remember things.
Yeah. But you're supplementing a false community with this real, authentic, supportive community at your job that's like, you know, centered around your own creativity, and creativity in itself is reliant on introspection, you know, and it's just like you found this very perfect gift mere weeks after you got sober, which I'm not like mad about, but
we're not going to talk about it
ever again.
Cold when it's critical, cool but cynical, maxed out, never minimal. That's how we function.